Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. For those of you that don't know, I'm Alaric Allen. I run the Spirit Tapes channel. It's me that does all the ghost box sessions and posts up the paranormal investigation videos. I am full-time a psychic medium, a physical medium and a mental medium, and an exorcist. I've been involved in the paranormal since birth, pretty much. My dad was a paranormal investigator, my mum was a tarot reader, my nan was a psychic, and it's been in my family for generations. Originally I started this channel in an attempt to document each session I do with the Spirit Box ITC research, which is, for those that don't know, instrumental trans communication. I started this channel to try to reach my mum and my little dog, who passed away roughly a year ago. You may notice that over the last few months there haven't been any true uploads of my sessions. They've still been happening, but they haven't been put online. They haven't been edited or reviewed or anything like that. I haven't analysed them that clearly, although I am gradually working on that. And occasionally I do spirit communication attempts with famous people who have passed, famous wrestlers or actresses or singers or whatever. And the reason I do that is just to see if we can reach them. Like, where did they go? Because if you're like me, you understand that this is not the end. You know, death is not the end of anything. It's kind of like its meaning in the tarot. It's new beginnings. They've just started something new somewhere else. There has been a few reasons why my uploads have kind of stopped for a while. Those of you who watch this channel quite thoroughly, you know that I'm part of a spiritualist circle as well. I've been in many of those over the last, say, 10 to 15 years. But on the very last one that happened, the very first one of this month, which was a couple of weeks ago, the discussion came up about reincarnation. There was a little bit of a discussion and a debate amongst the members of the circle as why do we reincarnate? What is the point? Why would we want to keep coming back here? And someone pointed out it was to learn lessons, which is a very commonly accepted idea, that we're here to learn. And then someone else pointed out, but what's the point of that? Because every time we reincarnate, we have our memories wiped. And I thought this was very interesting, because I've recently been led down a path that's, I can only say it's a path of realization. And it's not something new. It's something that I've heard about for many years. I've been in this field for a long time. But I never really accepted it, so to speak. But the more that I go into it, the more that I look into everything as a whole, the more I realise that I can't avoid this any longer. There is a truth to this that we may have to accept. One of the big things that I have a lot of impatience for on this earth are the spiritually unaware, people that are spiritually dense. I refer to them often as hylics, and I'll get into why soon. A hylic is a human being whose consciousness is either very limited or non-existent. They're like a flesh robot. They live in the physical world as if that's all there is. If you ask a hylic to find the truth about reality, they will look in the physical for an answer, even if the answer isn't there, because they don't believe or understand anything beyond that. They're literally incapable. In my past year, and like I say, this isn't new, but in my past year I've come to realise something. Shortly after my mum passed, I had this visitation. I actually have a session on it. You can see it I'll put it in the description, a link to the video. It was a morning and night session, based on when I woke up from this lucid state, which I know a lot of people would say is a dream, but believe me, our visitation is very different to a dream. You know that when you wake up from it. I had this visitation from my mum, where I was asking to see my mum again, of course. I asked her every day. And in this visitation I found me, two of my friends and my partner, and we were going into this building, and it's like a library. It kind of looked like a library. There's books everywhere. We went over to a few shelves. It was absolutely packed. It was busy as all hell. There was a little reception area where people were queuing up, and there were two doors, the doors that we came in from, and there were these two doors at the other end which, when opened, were just a beam of white light. There was this long table, and we sat at this table. One of my other friends turned up, someone that I knew a long time ago, I hadn't seen for many years, and he was surprised to see us, or to see me I should say. And in this dream, this visitation, this lucid dream, there was this mechanical thing, kind of like a robot, kind of like a bit like a Dalek or something. It was a bronzy gold colour, had a disc-shaped hole at the top with a speaker on it, and this glass cubic thing over the top of its dome. And it spoke like a broken radio, you know, when like on a ghost box, when you hear words crackling and coming through. It was like that. And it called itself Daniel Brown, and it was saying, "I am Daniel Brown," and that's all it kept saying. And it could move. It moved around like it was on wheels or gliding or something. I noticed something, is that the doors at the back where the lights were, that's where we had to go. It was like a checkpoint almost. It was like a point where you stop at, like at an airport, where they check you through and let you go through. It's kind of like that, but in the form of a library. So the four of us went to the end where those doors were, and we went to walk through them, and it's only me that could get through. My partner and two friends were left behind. And I went through this light, and I appeared in this completely different place. It was another world entirely. It was like this world in many ways, but it wasn't this world. It had very strange four-dimensional properties. Is there any way I can describe it? And my mum was there, and there was this van, I remember, it looked like a van, and these bad people, like, had a bad energy, kind of like hooligan energy. And to protect my mum, we got in the van and I drove her home. And home is my house, where I live, where she did live when I looked after her. But it wasn't this version. It was a four-dimensional version. As hard as that is to understand and comprehend, that's what it was. A four-dimensional version of this house. And it was dark. It was very dark. It was almost nighttime. And my mum, she got into bed, where she would have slept if she was in this world still. The room looked kind of the same, except for there was these shelves with CDs on them, it looked like, or something like that. And I showed her some of them and that, and they were just talking, you know. I was happy to see her. She looked sad, and I could feel the presence of my dad as well. Although I didn't see him, I got the feeling that he was downstairs in the kitchen, which is where my dad used to be when he lived here. He used to often go in the kitchen. This visitation, despite being four-dimensional, was still physical. It was something you could... It was a physical world, a physical representation like what we have here. It just had more dimensions. And when I woke up from this, I remembered the whole thing in great detail as well, which is something you don't generally do with dreams. When I came back here, I immediately turned on my reverse tape source to try to communicate with my mum about this, and asked her if it was a dream or if it really was a visitation. Did I really come to see you? Did you come to see me? And you can hear it in the session very clearly. It says in my mum's voice, a visitation. Mum, was that you that came to me in a visitation last night? Was that a visitation, or was that just a very severe dream? There's no mistaking it, it's a direct response. Which would tell me that then that was real. That wasn't just a dream, right? Well, this brings me to an interesting point. If like when we think of the spirit world, the astral world, we think of it as non-corporeal. There's no solidity. It's they're like orbs of light. Well, I don't believe that's true anymore. At least as I explain it, you'll understand what I'm saying, because there is a form where we are that, do reach that level. But the afterlife is not an escape from the physical. It's like an onion. The more layers you peel back, there's still more there to unravel. I don't know where this place exactly was where I went in this visitation. It felt like some kind of lower astral to middle astral plane of existence. And that's a physical world. The point I'm getting at here is that when people die, they often report seeing a bright white light at the end of a tunnel that they go through. They're greeted by their loved ones who have passed over, and but some people that come back from that say the afterlife is physical. It's a physical world. Everything we've got here, we've got there. And there are spirit guides there that talk to us and give us a life review, look over what we did right, what we did wrong, whether we need to come back, whether we need to fix some things, learn some lessons. And this is where I have a problem. Because when we do reincarnate, we have our memories wiped entirely. We don't remember anything, in some cases to the point where there are people that don't even believe a spirit world exists. That's how we get the Hylics. And they reincarnate here, thinking this is their first life here and their only life here, and there'll never be anything more. That's how badly we are memory wiped. So why? How are we going to learn anything if we forget what we did wrong? The way people learn lessons is they know what they did wrong, they're taught what they did wrong, and they learn not to emulate that and do it again. Well, then we're perpetually fucked, because our memories are constantly being wiped on each cycle. Does that not potentially mean we keep coming back here forever? Yes, it does. Now, there have been people that have said it is a learning experience, but what it is as the body, in the physical form we don't remember, but our consciousness will. It takes each life and puts it in its archives, and consciousness itself remembers. And I don't doubt that. That's not the issue. The higher self most likely does have a memory of this, but as long as we're constantly getting looped and recycled, we're forever trapped in this, perpetual cycle of bollocks. And this is where I have an issue. And it led me into some research, and I have discovered some things which are not new things, as I said earlier, but they are things that I put into my whatever knowledge I'd accumulated over the years, and I just left it there. I didn't really, explore it too much. But the more I try to avoid this, the more it seems that I can't. I keep coming back to this same thing. We are in a prison. This is a form of hell. The world of matter, the physical world, is not of godly design. This is not designed by a benevolent God. This world, by its very nature, is evil. The pain and suffering that comes from being in this world is unmeasurable. Whether it's wars, losing our loved ones, death, heartache, heartbreak, betrayal. It's just so much evil in this world. One of the most common things I always get asked as someone that doesn't have a lot of patience for people that don't believe beyond the physical: if there's a God, why does he let bad things happen? So generally, I would say to that, it's a complete lack of understanding of what God means, what God is, I mean, you're thinking of it in a physical term again. A man sitting on a cloud. You know, it's not. That's not how it works. That's not what it is. I always used to say that God is the infinite existence of all things. You know, it doesn't. It's not evil as far as God is concerned. It's just, it is. It just is. Because God is all that truly does exist. It's not how it's put across metaphorically in biblical text. It's just a conscious being, the source of all things. But since then, things have come to light that make more sense to me now than ever. I've tried to avoid this. I've tried to deny it a few times and thought, nah, it can't be that. You know, that can't be possible. But all the evidence keeps pointing back to it. I'm not one of those people that deny evidence. If you see enough things that point to a certain thing, chances are, if you weigh it up, it's most likely the truth. Is it definitely the truth? I can't prove any of that. Not yet. But it certainly points to that direction. And I can't avoid it and ignore it, because then I'm no better than all the small-minded old school scientists that won't step outside the physical boundaries of life, and the religions that won't step out of their little box of what right and wrong is, and so on. I've come to the conclusion that this world was invented, this physical world was invented by a demonic force, a very unholy abomination of an entity. This is the creature that some people would call the devil, or more accurately I would call it Yaldabaoth, the Gnostic creator of the physical world. This world has been designed specifically to cause us pain, to cause us suffering and hurt. The whole reason that death exists, although if we're being honest it doesn't exist, it's an illusion, but it's real to us while we're here. And the reason it exists is because it causes us pain. When we lose a loved one, and I can speak from personal experience, when we lose a loved one, the pain of that can be so unbearable that you almost feel like leaving this world yourself. We don't actually die. We are not our bodies. This is our interface to talk to people and react and act in this world. It's just like a virtual reality, honestly. Our consciousness enters the holographic brain of the body and operates it like a suit. But the problem is that we don't really have a say in the matter anymore. To my understanding, that when this world was created, it was created by an abomination. Like I said, it's a flawed mistake in consciousness that was self-aware and decided it was God. It's not God, it's a false God. It's a demon, if anything. A high level demon, the highest level demon. The source of all bad. It was completely disconnected from God, the real God, the true self, the true consciousness. It was unaware it even existed. It was ignorant. Kind of like how Hylics are. It was completely ignorant of a higher level of existence. It wouldn't accept there was one. And so it created this world from physical matter, which was below it. And because it was below it, it felt like it was all powerful over the top of it. And it claimed to be God. If you look in the texts like the Bible, the Old Testament, that's not God. That's an evil, malevolent little bastard. That's not God. I am a jealous God. Jealous of what? You're God. What do you have to be jealous of? You're implying that there's more gods? Is that what you're saying? And that you're the one that wishes to get all the glory? Why are you jealous? What of? Jealous of your creation? Why'd you make it then? If you're a jealous God, then there are other gods. Gods that are superior to you. And indeed there is. This thing was not God. It just proclaimed it was God. There is no other God but me. Why would you even say that then? That's redundant. Are you trying to prove something? Yeah, it's a very pathetic being. A pathetic being that is completely flawed. And it built this world, which is in its image. It has the same attitude as the Hylics. That's no accident. When this false god created this world, he created it with aspects of itself. It can only make things that are from its own existence. It can't create anything new. It's too dense for that. It can only shape things out of what already exists. The angels that we hear about, a lot of the angels that we hear about, I should say. I'm not saying all angels are this, but a lot of the angels we hear about in spiritual circles and so on, they're not angels, they're archons, they're demons. They are flawed beings. There are real benevolent beings out there, far higher up. But we're being deceived by a lot of these things. I mean, as a medium, we are trained as mediums to connect to our spirit guides and to speak to them and allow them to bridge the gap between life and death. Well, who are these spirit guides? They come to us in all these different forms. Some of them look like aliens, and we are just assumed that they're here to help us. Who are you? Some of them don't even show themselves. There are mediums that have been mediums most of their life, and they've still never seen what their guide looks like. Why? What are you hiding from? What are you? Who are you? Why do you wish to help me? It's not wrong to ask questions. We have to question everything. Otherwise we fall into slavery. We fall into a false belief, a false reality. So I'm asking that question. Who are these guides? How do I know you're connecting me with a spirit of someone I love? How do I know you're connecting me with this person's father when I work? How do I know it's not deceit? I don't know. I can't know that. I just take with faith what I'm getting to be true. When we die and we meet these guides, they give us our life reviews. What have you done right? What have you done wrong? You have to go back. Why do I have to go back? Who are you to tell me I have to go back? Are you more superior than me? We all came from the same God source. Who are you to tell me I have to go back and learn a lesson and then wipe my memory so I don't remember what that lesson was? That's deceit, that's manipulation. If I don't want to come back here, don't tell me I have to. There are some people that have NDEs who have actually come forward and said, I didn't want to come back, they made me. They have no right to do that. Who are they to do that? It's life review. I signed a contract to come to Earth to fulfill a purpose. A contract? That sounds like a control scheme to me. Why would I sign a contract? I don't remember signing the contract. Surely the contract can be null and void if I don't remember it. Like if someone was completely high on drugs or drunk and they signed something, you can't really take that too seriously. They were out of their mind. You've wiped my memory. I don't remember signing no contract. You could have lied about that. Am I supposed to blindly trust you? There are all kinds of entities in this universe. Not all good. This is why I'm asking people to question these things. The fact that the afterlife appears physical as well. Not just to me in my visitation, to many, many people. It appears physical. That doesn't make sense. It makes sense in the sense that once you're on a different vibrational frequency, anything else that vibrates at that frequency will become solid to you. That does sort of make sense from a scientific perspective. But it still doesn't make sense as a whole, because we all know one thing. Physicality is dense. True consciousness has no form. So this afterlife, with these big towers and Greco-Roman buildings where we go to look at our Akashic records, or have our life reviews and look at our contracts or whatever, they're obviously not the ultimate afterlife because they're physical. Wherever those places are, they're not the true heaven. They're not the true self. And when these people have these NDEs and they talk about this tunnel and they see their loved ones come to take them through the light, I say don't do it. How do you know that's your loved ones? They might look like them, but there's some things we need to consider here. Firstly, what are the Akashic records? It's an infinite library of every single soul on Earth's experiences, yeah? Why is that all being documented for a start? That's a bit weird. Why do you need all of that? Who's looking after that? Who's managing that? Some people have described it as being almost digital. They're not actual books, they're like floppy disks or something like that. It's a database in a computer. That's very much tying into the idea that this world is simulated. They're save files in a game. If these Akashic records hold the knowledge of everything that ever happened on the earth, then someone is recording it and storing it. So when we pass and we see our loved ones, we need to question whether it really is, or is it the database loading up something from our file to trick us into walking into that light, to recycle us and send us back here with our memories wiped, forever trapped in perpetual torment. We need to ask these questions, and we need to realise that not everything is what it seems. Only recently, physicists have recently discovered that this world is not actually physical. It's not locally physical it doesn't locally exist. It only exists when it's observed. That's very much like an open world video game or something. They use culling. In gaming they use culling, which means it doesn't render what's not on screen. What you don't need to see won't be rendered. But if you turn around, it will render that part over that side. You know, it saves memory. Well, things like the double slit experiment have proven that to be true. In our world. You know, particles becoming waves and so on, only when they're observed. How does it know to do that? Because the eye is a camera, an in-game camera, looking at the thing that needs to render, so it begins to take shape. I'm a strong believer that this world doesn't exist. It's not the true world, it's holographic. I've tried to avoid accepting the idea that this is not a godly world, but it isn't. So when people ask you now, why does God let bad things happen if he exists? Because God is a demon. God is the source of all demons. He is the devil, for lack of a better term. Though, to be fair, the devil is a flawed term. It's not the devil, so to speak. It's a fuck-up, is what it is. A spiritual, conscious fuck-up. The Gnostics teach us that Yaldabaoth, the demiurge, came into existence when Sophia, spirit of wisdom, tried to procreate by herself without the confirmation of the true God. And she gave birth to this shapeless, hideous monstrosity, a complete mistake. And she tried to hide it by casting it down into Tartarus. And Tartarus is, of course, Earth. Here. Or to be more specific, within the layers of physicality. We're a low level of physicality, but there are levels of physicality above, as I said. And he's at the top of that. That's where Yaldabaoth exists. And then that abomination procreated with itself again and created the Archons, which we would call the fallen angels, demons. And they helped to form this world as what it is today. And they're still here, they're still in control of it all. It's why when you hear people talking about shape-shifting reptile men and all of that, it sounds silly to the physical perspective, but you need to look beyond that. It's not physical shape-shifting, it's not physical anything. These beings don't exist in this world, they're the rulers of it. But if they want to come into it, they can manifest, they can pull in matter around them to take shape. It's like making themselves a suit temporarily so they can walk in public. So they take form. And to the human eye, which is very controlled by the human brain, which is also controlled by these things, it looks like something changing shape. The truth is they don't have any shape, they don't have any form. The forms that they take can deceive you in themselves. It's like I said, I am an exorcist. Originally I did them on my own, and then later I started doing them with my partner, which is far better. And I've encountered demons. And for those that don't believe in demons, they do exist. It's a fact. They are very horrible entities. It's like, I can describe them as lost children. They're so confused that they're like sport brats. That's how they behave. They can do a lot of harm as well. They're fragmentations of the corrupt demiurge. They're pieces of corruption that are conscious, and they're not physical. Some of them are quite low level. They're not that strong at all, to be fair. And they fragmented into so many pieces now. If you look in books like the Ask Goetia or the Necronomicon or whatever you go to, it tells you the demons, they rule over a certain legion of demons. Okay, where do all them demons come from? They're fragmentations. They're things where the corruption is splitting, fragmenting into more pieces. And they're spreading like cancer. You will hear certain religious sects say there are no new demons. There are no new demons. I'd say there's 50-50 chance there is. It's all sources from a cosmic error that happened many years ago. We're being deceived. We're being told to keep coming back here. We're being lied to throughout life. We're told that these things don't exist. You're a bag of meat. Live, work, eat, die. End of cycle. And then when we do die, we realise that wasn't true. And we're greeted by our next level of deception. A being that claims to be on our side, that cares about us and tells us where we went wrong and blah blah blah, and go back and try again. They guilt trip you as well. Like if you have an accident and you go into a near-death experience and they tell you, you've left your son behind. Who's going to look after your son now? You better go back. And they'll do it because they care about their son. It's a trick. You've been deceived into coming back here again. We're in a trap. This is a trap. A spiritual trap that we need to get out of. If we want to come here, it should be by our own choice. And we can, by choice. If we get past them first. They're holding up barriers. They're holding up these walls that stop us progressing. They don't want us to leave. They want to keep us down here. The body is nothing. This body is just a robotic machine. And the consciousness is driving it. Without consciousness, humanity can't live. It can't exist. And the creator of this world, the false god, knows this. So it wants to keep it here. The only way to keep consciousness here is to recycle it over and over and over. Clear its memory, send it back. So it never knows how to escape. It never knows it can escape. It doesn't even know it's trapped. Because it's been told from birth, with a wiped memory, this is all it is. This is your life and this is how it is. It's just one massive control to trap us and torture us with pain and suffering every day. Life is so hard. It shouldn't be hard like this. Why should life be so difficult for a being that's meant to be here? There's no lesson to learn from this. I'd say there's only one lesson to learn, if anything, from reincarnation, and that is learn not to come back here again. Learn to break out. Because when we die and we are told to come back here, we too often say yes, because we're deceived. And those of us that don't say yes tend to be dragged back. I don't know what exactly is awaiting after death. I just know we can't trust it. All these times I tried to find my mum and my dog, which is what this channel was started for and will continue to be based around, has led me to discover so much more. It's also going to be considerably harder to find them, I feel, as long as all this shit is going on. How am I supposed to narrow down my search of where they've gone when there are these malevolent arseholes intervening constantly and recycling us, manipulating us, blocking the frequencies? Why is it so hard to speak to them in the first place? Why is it so hard to reach our loved ones? Why can't we just talk to them? Well, I believe that's probably because they don't want us to. If we can actually contact our true loved ones, well, possibly they may even know more about what's going on here than we do. We're not supposed to know that. We're supposed to live in ignorance, die in ignorance, and come back in ignorance, over and over, forever. Certain meditations have led me to communicate with something, I don't know what exactly, that claims that this world was not created by God, not the true God, and that it was modelled on the real reality. So somewhere out there beyond this world, there is another earth that doesn't have all of these bad things in it. There is no death. There is no negativity. It does exist out there, way beyond this frequency. This is just a copy of it. A bad, flawed copy of it. It's like when you copy a computer program multiple times, there's always going to be slight alterations. No copies are exact. So when you do a copy of a computer program to another system, it's more likely to have a bug in that one than the original. That's what this is. It's a bugged version of the real version. It's a bad copy, ruled over by a malevolent, lost, confused abortion of a god. It isn't a god at all. It's a mistake. And the majority of people in this world are Hylics, people that don't understand anything beyond the physical world. You try to tell most people about a god or spirits or ghosts or anything, you just get this stupid divvy, you believe in ghosts? They don't exist. You get that kind of attitude because they're idiots. You get a lot of these Hylics coming to my channel and leaving comments. No joke, I had a comment once come through saying I'm reporting your channel for not being considerate of the people that have died who you tried to communicate with. That is pretty stupid. They're Hylics, that's what they are. Ignorant flesh robots. Malfunctioning humans, in my view. I mean, we are taught in ancient cultures that we're not supposed to talk down to them. You know, they're just as valid as anything else. And maybe it's a flaw on my part, but I can't stand them. I can't stand Hylics. If anything, they're holding us down here. They're trapping people here even more. You know, it's not bad enough we've got these spiritual abortions holding us in this world. We've also got stupid flesh robots emphasizing and continuing the idea that this is all there is, making it even harder for the soul to progress out of this prison. I just don't have time or patience for Hylics. I don't like them. I'll never like them. So that's me. I'm not a perfect being either, so you know, I have my hang-ups about certain things too. I wish there was some way that I could say this is how you escape. I don't know yet exactly. I'm looking into that. There's a lot of different views. The Gnostics, again, they say reach gnosis. Be aware. But we can't test that until it's our time, obviously. Then we can test it. We got to stop believing that we are this body and this form, because we're not. This is just our avatar. When you're playing a video game, you're not actually that character in that game, are you? You're just playing as them to experience the game. Yeah, well, that's all this is as well. You know, I'm not really Alaric Alan. I'm infinite awareness in an Alaric Alan form, playing this game, this badly designed game full of bugs. It's a very broken game to experience it through this character. Because apparently if we pass and we forget and we still believe that we are this character, it causes us even more problems to get past the trap. Because if we still think, if I was to pass and I'm still passing thinking I'm Alaric Alan, I'm going to have trouble getting out. Because I still believe I'm me. And the deceiving entities on the other side are going to, you know, drive that home. You're Alaric Alan. That's what they're going to do that. But I'm not. When I pass, I need to say to them, I'm not Alaric Alan. Alaric Alan's a fictional character I was playing as. I'm infinite fullness. I'm infinite consciousness and awareness. And you are nothing. Step aside. Show me the way to the true God. I know this video may come across as negative, but it's not. It's a horrible realization, but it's not a negative video. We can escape. There is a way out. But the first step to anything like that is to be aware that we are trapped. After all, the best slave is a slave that doesn't know he's a slave. Once you know that tyrants are controlling you, that's the first step to revolution. God bless. True God bless. Not false God. And I hope to see you all soon.